The following program is rated PG. Parental guidance is advised, as the theme or content may not be suitable for all children. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, I'm Zara Durrani. Welcome back to On Location. Today I'm coming to you from beautiful Terrace, British Columbia. Joining me today is Mayor Sean Bujtas, now in his third term on Terrace City Council. A longtime community builder, Sean has been deeply involved in local sports, youth engagement, regional government, and economic development. We're so excited to speak to him. Let's go in and speak with Mayor Sean Bujtas. Thank you so much to Mayor Sean. Thank you for joining us today.
Welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe I brought some sunshine with me, some warm weather. So how is summer treating you guys so far?
Oh, it's been an up and down summer. It started off really warm early in the spring, and then it kind of cooled off. But in the last week, we've really started to see summer again. So it's nice that it's good and warm now.
And, you know, yesterday I arrived. I wanted to take a day to just get settled in here and just to go down, do some grocery shopping. I couldn't believe how close the mountains are. They're literally just right there. Do you guys take them for granted? Do you get accustomed to just, you know, these eagles flying around? You have this beautiful scenery all around you. Do you guys take time to notice it, or you get used to that here?
Well, I think you do get used to it, but then every once in a while it comes right back to you. I think, you know, you think about the drive between Terrace and Prince Rupert. I think it's one of the most stunning drives in the whole country. And, you know, you drive it so many times. I've lived here my whole life. And then every once in a while you're driving it. And the next thing you know, you're doing 70 kilometers an hour because you're just looking up at the scenery and looking at the mountains. And Terrace is really lucky, right? Because it's in this little valley. So it's completely surrounded by mountains. And, you know, the snow caps don't tend to totally disappear, like giving you that nice kind of green lush on the mountains, plus a little bit of white on top. Always, it's really wonderful here.
So Mayor Sean is now in his third term on Terrace City Council. A longtime community builder, Sean has been deeply involved in local sports, youth engagement, regional governance, and economic development. I would love to hear about your passion for public service. You're really involved in community here. Where do you think that comes from?
My parents, for sure. My father was a Hungarian refugee, came to North America in 1956, settled in Kitimat, BC with his mother. And, you know, as a European, soccer was his passion as a sport. And that drove him to volunteer for Terrace Youth Soccer for decades and decades. In fact, I think somebody was always involved in Terrace Youth Soccer, my family, for over 40 years straight. You know, they were helped spearhead building a world-class set of soccer fields here years ago. And I followed in their footsteps and joined youth soccer, was on the board for 7 or 8 years before I got on council. Got a little bit too busy and stepped away from that. But I just always want to be able to make things better, right? So how do you do that? It's not by complaining, it's by helping. So it's always kind of what I've always wanted to do. It's why I joined Rotary. It's why I joined soccer. And it's honestly why I ran on city council as well. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Do you, I'm sure because Terrace is such a small town, I was noticing the population is around 10K, correct? Or growing?
Well, Terrace is interesting because we're a town of 12,500.
Okay.
But we have this surrounding area that takes us to about 20. We have just across the river Thornhill, which is an unincorporated area. I think probably one of the densest unincorporated areas in the province, and it's about 4,500 people. The folks at Thornhill, we work together. We're they shop here. They do a lot of things here. We do some things in Thornhill as well. We work together. So, and then of course we've got the rural terraces as well. So it puts us into the 20,000. But what really makes Terrace even busier than that is it's got this, because it's this hub of the Northwest, it is the gateway to the Golden Triangle. You've got the Port of Prince Rupert, 140 kilometers down the road. You've got Kitimat, which has got LNG Canada and Rio Tinto, where this hub of the Northwest, and it creates a catchment area of about 70,000 people. So there's a lot of people coming into our community every weekend and through the week. So it always has a bigger feel to me than it probably really is.
Yeah. I want to talk a bit about life here in Terrace, and perhaps someone out there who may be watching, wanting to get out of Lower Mainland or even from the island and moving to Terrace. What would you recommend to newcomers?
Terrace is, to me, and I think to the folks that live here, it's got a little bit of everything. There's no question there's certain things a big city like Vancouver has that the rurals don't. But I think for all the things that the small community has, makes up for all of that. And when you think about Terrace, I can walk out my front door and be on a hiking trail in 5 minutes. I can be at a fishing bank in 10. I can be at a ski hill in 20 minutes. I can be at the lake in 20 minutes. I can be on a mountain bike trail in 10 minutes. Everything. If you're an outdoorsy person, enjoy nature, it is all at your fingertips right there. And the best thing about small community living to me is when I go to work in the morning, if I forget my laptop at home, I just go back and get it. Nobody knows.
What opportunities do you see for the youth growing up in Terrace today, and how is the city supporting them?
Yeah, I think things, in the past have been tough for the youth. Terrace is not one of the struggles with Terrace, and it lost its industry in the 80s with the mill closure, but we're seeing this industrial growth outside of our community now, the Golden Triangle being a big part of that. You've got Bruce Jack and Red Chris, and it's creating a ton of jobs for people. When I graduated in the 90s, there was not a lot of work for young folks, but now there's any job you almost want, and you're seeing people that are, working. They were, working in a restaurant, and now they're making 6 digits driving a forklift or a big dump truck or something like that in the mines. And it's great that there's all this work for folks in the area, so they can raise a family, have fun, and enjoy the area.
You've been co-chair of the Northwest Resource Benefits Alliance since 2018. Can you share about your involvement and why it matters for Terrace and the region?
So the Northwest Resource Benefit Alliance, really important work that we've been doing. It started probably in about 2014, and different folks working at it. And the purpose of this organization was to lobby provincial government to start sharing revenue created in the Northwest with communities in the Northwest. This model had been done in the Northeast, and communities like Dawson Creek and Fort St. John it was really paying dividends for. And the reason why they did it, and the same reason why we did it, is there is a lot of industry outside communities that aren't being taxed by the municipality, but the communities are feeling the impacts. And we had no revenue sharing with the province, and it was a bit of a go. And we've had I started as a co-chair in 2018, and in 2019 we signed. The provincial government granted us $100 million, and this is for communities, Fraser, Fort George, all the way to Masset. The Northwest Resource Benefit Alliance actually represents people from Vanderhoof to Masset, and then there was another intake in 2020 of $50 million, and the first intake Terrace got 8 of it. The next they got 6, but then last year we signed a 5-year agreement. With the province. It was a $250 million deal, $50 million a year for communities from Vanderhoof to Masset, as I was saying, to rebuild infrastructure, to make sure we're fixing the roads in our communities and making sure water mains are working. And because, quite frankly, I think the Northwest has been quite neglected over the years when it comes to higher levels of government, and so we're starting to see that turn, and we're seeing investment from the provincial government so far. We need to work on the federal government a bit harder, but super excited about that. Terrace, so over the next 5 years, we'll receive $7 million a year, and in a community our size, that's a big deal. This year we're doing a few projects. There's a street, North Thomas, that we're doing with a good chunk of that money, and this is a street that has the largest elementary school in in town, and the road is falling apart. It needs a better sidewalk for kids to travel safely to school. And then next year, the plan is to rebuild what is called the 4600 block of Lake Ellis, which is Main Street. And that's kind of the jewel of the downtown area per se. It's got all the little small shops. You can see that folks are working at refacing their buildings there now, and now we'll get that road work hopefully done next year to really kind of revitalize the downtown.
What's one lesson in leadership you've learned through your years in public service that really stays with you that you could perhaps share with the youth?
Have empathy. Yeah, you really learn that, things don't always seem the way you when you look at them, the way they seem, we'll say. And when you really dive into things, you realize that problems are usually way more complicated than they seem. The solutions aren't as easy as they seem. And the more you educate yourself in the issue, the more you're going to understand, and the more you're going to empathize with the issue. It doesn't mean that we don't hold ourselves accountable. It doesn't mean that we don't try to resolve the issue. I think it's just making sure that we understand before we get frustrated and angry with folks, especially folks that are trying to do, and I'm not even talking about council, I'm talking about people outside in the community that are trying to support people and getting frustrated with those folks because they don't like the way they're doing it. But, have empathy. Make sure that we're caring for each other, because without caring for each other, what's the point of it all?
Love that. Do you find that, for example, like being here in Terrace or, like the smaller towns, like you can take time to make that a focus? Yeah,
I think it's tough sometimes, being a small town mayor opposed to a big city mayor. It's not a full-time job, so you have to have a real job, we'll say, to make ends meet. But so sometimes I would say finding the time might be a little bit more difficult, but you're so in the community, right? And I don't mind if I'm sitting out and having a beer with my buddy if somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, what about this? Can you explain this to me?" I don't mind. That's what I signed up for.
I was really curious about that. That what is that like, especially if you're volunteering and sitting on this committee, you're the mayor, and you're really involved in Terrace.
Yeah.
How is that for you when you're going for coffee or like pumping gas or doing groceries?
Groceries. I sometimes will go there and it'll, something that's took me 15 minutes will take me an hour, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's what I signed up for, right? Like I signed up to have those conversations, and I want to be able to explain things to people. Sometimes I don't always give them the answer that I want, but I hope that people feel okay that if they see me in a coffee shop, they can approach me and ask me a question, and if it's a conversation that needs more time, then let's set up a time and we'll make that work. But sometimes it's just a 30-second conversation, and it answers the question for somebody. So, yeah, I don't mind that at all. And in fact, in a lot of ways, I kind of enjoy it.
Love that. For anyone visiting Terrace or thinking of visiting Terrace this summer or perhaps even winter, because I am going to get an opportunity to go up to Shames Mountain, and I did have, I was taking a look online. My goodness, like the mountain with snow looks stunning.
Shames is a hidden gem. It is an absolute hidden gem, that ski hill.
So if I wasn't here working, like what would you recommend to me if I'm here for, say, 3 days? What would you suggest, like in the summertime and in the wintertime, some spots that I need to hit while I'm in Terrace?
I would say explore the area. I would say explore Terrace, the greater Terrace area. Get on the hiking trails, see some of the views. There's some spectacular views. If you just drive around town and park at the top of a hill, you're going to see some amazing stuff.
Is there a particular one that you enjoy?
I think the top of Skeena Drive has got an amazing view of the town. There's a hiking trail up Terrace Mountain that's about a 10-15 minute hike that we had the Skeena Salmon Arts Fest had a set of metal sculpted wolves put up on this lookout, and this lookout looks down on the river, on the bridges, and into town. It is just a spectacular location to go and see the area. It doesn't, and then it looks out into Thornhill and lets you kind of get a feel of what Thornhill is like too. But that's probably my number one spot to go to show some of the town if I've got time.
What is one project or initiative or idea that really excites you right now about Terrace's future?
Well, getting this Northwest Resource Benefit Alliance deal done was super exciting for me. I think sometimes it's really not that exciting for people because a lot of it is work in the ground. But knowing that there's, and it's not enough, and we need to do more and continue to work with the province to get a long-term deal done like they do in the piece. But knowing that there's projects that we couldn't get off the books that we can now get off the books because that's there makes me feel better. Like, it makes me feel better that these road projects are being done, that we can redo these projects. We're not having to worry about, certain roads and the sewer lines and things like that because we have the funding there to get those things. So it's not pretty, but it's definitely got me, excited. And next year redoing this 4600 block with some of that money, I think is really exciting work too that will come.
Okay, Mayor Sean, where are we right now?
Oh, we're up on the Terrace Mountain where the wolf sculptures are, overlooking the Skeena River, the old bridge, and downtown Terrace.
Beautiful. You're just surrounded by mountains, like enclaved.
Yeah, we're really fortunate. Terrace is in this nice little valley and just completely surrounded. You can see the snow caps over there and, green lush mountains over there.
So, what's the story behind the wolves here?
The wolves were a brainchild of the Skeena Salmon Arts Festival. Skeena Salmon's Art Fest, Councillor Dave Gordon actually, he's been running that organization for years and doing a lot of the artwork in town, the murals and stuff like that. And in 2001, they had commissioned a gentleman by the name of Steve Rogers to do these wolves, to put on this lookout here. And Steve has done a fantastic job of these. I actually think these, right about this time in 2021, they put these wolves up.
Oh, very cool. And the trail is now renamed? Like it's called, I saw it says.
Well, no, what we did here is we did it was a mountain bike trail up, and this year we just kind of made its own little walking path up here because there's just so many folks, just mountain bikers and pedestrians walking at completely different speeds. So we had decided that we'd create this little path up here. So our Parks and Recs folks took care of that. It's
amazing. Great. All right, folks, thank you for watching. We're here in Terrace, on location in Terrace continues, and I'm looking forward to sharing more stories, and I'll show you a view of the sunset so you can see the Skeena River, you can see the mountains. We're just about losing the light. Thank you, Mayor Sean.